This episode contains discussions of death, grief, suicide, and survivor's guilt. Listen to your own discretion. It is Monday, the 7th of April, 2025. My name is Pigeon and this is my song of the day. It's another week here in April, closing in on the end, and closing in on my 30th birthday. Ooh. We're starting off the week with a song that I've loved for many years now, and I've wanted to talk about for the entire run of this show, but it's it's just such a depressing song that I just never felt like it. I was like, oh, I could talk about it here. No, I kind of don't want to, but we're nearing the end, so I have to. This song is called Your Deep Rest by the Hotelier. Now, you may notice that Your Deep Rest sounds like you're depressed, which is undoubtedly intentional. Your deep rest also refers to someone being dead, because that's what this song is about. And I'll have put a warning at the start, but this is a very, very sad song. So, just be warned about that, I guess. The Hotelier are a band from Massachusetts. They're from Worcester. And the album that the song is on, Home Like No Place Is There, is kind of like held up as a modern emo classic. It's from 2014. And I've listened to their first album. I haven't listened to their third, but Home Like No Place Is There is definitely their better of the first two, but the first album is also very good. But, it's just one of those things where like they're a great band, but they'll never beat this one song for me. I get this song stuck in my head a lot, which is a shame considering what it's about, but it's very catchy at the same time. I guess I don't need to say anything else. Let's just go ahead and listen to it and then come back in a few minutes and talk about it. And that was Your Deep Rest by the Hotelier. Right out the gate, I love just the opening. I like when a song starts with one instrument and then the whole band comes in. You get the... I love that. It's great. I love how the vocals switch between the more kind of yelling of the verses, so while you're fixing up your bed, and then the chorus being like, I called in sick. Right? I like the switch up between the two different styles. So what is this song about? Well, this song is about coping with the guilt of a friend having committed suicide, and the narrator feels bad for either not noticing the signs or noticing the signs and not doing anything about it. And it's about, them kind of like beating themselves up about it and being like, I should have done something different, and feeling ashamed, right? And it's unfortunately a common narrative and a hard one to listen to, and now I'm going to talk you through it. So it starts off with, so while you're fixing up your bed, so while you're organizing drawers, could you just listen to the problems had with problems of yours? And what's that note you're writing there? Why are you giving me this back? This was a gift from when we met, back when you weren't so upset. I called in sick from your funeral. The sight of your body made me feel uncomfortable. I couldn't recognize your shell. So the first verse seems to be things that the narrator said to the friend while they're still alive. Fixing up your bed, organizing drawers, could you just listen to the problems had with problems of yours? I feel like he's kind of saying like you complain too much about your problems and you should listen to other people, and that's of course something he feels bad about. But also fixing up your bed, organizing drawers, people who plan a suicide often will get rid of things and clean things so there's no mess. And so like he's describing literally just like being so oblivious to this person preparing for it and just giving them shit, right? And what's that note you're writing there? Clearly implying a suicide note. Why are you giving me this back? This was a gift from when we met, back when you weren't so upset. First of all, referring to this suicidal depression as being upset is kind of a kick in the teeth. But also, why are you giving me this back? This was a gift from when we met. Again, people who are planning to commit suicide will often give things away or give gifts back because they know they won't need them anymore and they want someone else to have it, So again, this is just all the missed signs here at the start. And then the chorus really catches you off guard with the music all falling away and then just, I called in sick from your funeral. It's just such a gut punch, So I called in sick from your funeral is a really sad statement, but saying like, I found it difficult to go there. The sight of your body made me feel uncomfortable. Obviously, I couldn't recognize your shell. That's a really telling line as well, referring to the dead body as a shell, because it's not the person that he knew and loved. There's no life there. There's nothing that he recognizes. It's just a shell, right? It's like a shed skin. And then the second verse, your branching off had met an end from all the weight that made you bend, and when you tried to shed your leaves, you pined for warmth, as they said. Your lack of love for your dear self is sapping all of us here out. Trace your roots back to the ground, work out the knotholes for yourself. I called in sick from your funeral. The sight of your family made me feel responsible, and I found the notes you left behind, little hints and helpless cries. desperate wishing to be over. So this second verse has a lot of tree imagery. You're branching off at met an end from all the weight that made you bend, and when you tried to shed your leaves, you pined for warmth. Just saying all these things of like, your branches were bending over the weight. You tried to shed your leaves, you pined for warmth. It's all these things to do with trees trying to remain healthy, right? Your lack of love for your dear self is sapping all of us here out. Again, just like people blaming them for their depression, right? And particularly sapping, of course, being another tree term, and then trace your roots back to the ground, work out the knot holes for yourself. Now that feels like it's just talking about working out the problems deeply rooted in you, but also, as someone pointed out in Genius, and I don't know why I didn't think of this, but this could be a reference to Dante's Inferno. I have read Dante's Inferno, a translated version of it, because I don't speak Italian, but in Dante's Inferno, or rather Inferno as part of Dante's Divine Comedy, there's a thing about people who commit suicide in hell are forced to live in the form of a tree. And so that's an interesting comparison to be made here about this idea of people who committed suicide being a tree, and then he's bringing in the tree imagery here. Then this chorus, I called in sick from your funeral. The sight of your family made me feel responsible. Well, of course it would. I'm currently continuing to watch Oz, and there's a whole thing about victims' families meeting the person who killed them, and that, again, the sight of your family made me feel responsible makes me think of that. But yeah, it would, And I found the notes you left behind, little hints and helpless cries, desperate wishing to be over. You just, you can picture that, right? Just like after it's too late, you find all these notes and signs that were there all along, and you never wanted to accept. Then the bridge. You said you're trapped in your body and getting deeper every day. They diagnosed you born that way. They say it runs in your family. A conscious erasure of class background where despair trickles down. Imbalanced chemical crutch. Open up, swallow down. You said, remember me for me. I need to set my spirit free. So because of this line here, you said you're trapped in your body and getting deeper every day. Some people have said that the song is about a trans person who committed suicide due to transphobia from their family and peers. And I think that's a compelling narrative that you could read into this, but people act like it's confirmed, and I've seen no actual confirmation of it. But it is still an interesting idea to think here. But I think it's just saying you're trapped in your body as in like people they just want to move on. They don't want to be trapped on earth, right? They don't want to be trapped in life. Getting deeper every day, they're getting deeper into depression. They diagnosed you born that way. They say it runs in your family. So, mental health issues can obviously be hereditary, and that's what's implying here. But in the next bit about a conscious erasure of class background where despair trickles down implies that he's saying, this person isn't getting like proper medical care or proper psychological care because of being lower class and not being able to afford it, Despair trickles down, a reference to trickle-down economics. Imbalanced chemical crutch, open up, swallow down. The singer has apparently confirmed that this is a reference to using alcohol as a coping mechanism, which is very common for people in lower classes because they can't afford medicine, so they just get drunk to wipe their problems away, right? You said, remember me for me, I need to set my spirit free. This person saying like, it's pretty self-explanatory, I think, right? But it feels like that's the goodbye they gave to the narrator, And some people take that to mean they were present at the actual suicide, but I don't think they were. I don't think that makes sense necessarily, because there's all this thing about them missing the signs. I don't think they were actually present for it. I think they were maybe present just before it. You know what I mean? And the final chorus, I called in sick from your funeral. And then in the background there's, I called in sick. Tradition of closure nearly felt impossible. I should have never gave my word to you, not a cry, not a sound. Might have learned how to swim, never taught how to drown. You said, remember me for me. I watched you set your spirit free. So, tradition of closure nearly felt impossible. I always thought it was traditional closure nearly felt impossible, but it's written as tradition of closure here, and I guess that's right because no one's correcting it. But yeah, the closure feels impossible because of the circumstances and everything that's going on. I should have never given my word to you, not a cry, not a sound. This is again then just feeling guilty about not being able to help. Might have learned how to swim, never taught how to drown. Wishing that the person could have, learned how to cope. You said, remember me for me. I watched you set your spirit free. Again, that's what people read as being present for the suicide, but I think it's just about them watching the person waste away, until it eventually led to it. So that's that song, a very sad one, but I think it's very honest and brutal, and I really like it as a song and as a piece of art, and I get stuck in my head far too often for what it is. And that's going to be it for today. Thank you so much for listening. Please hit like, hit subscribe, leave a comment down below. Tell me what you think. Tell other people about this show. Thank you so much for listening, and I will talk to you tomorrow.
Break it down.